Welcome to another edition of the Wondery Podcast.
I'm Brian.
And I'm mind blown.
You can find us online at wonderberry.com.
You can find me online at Open Darkwing.
And you can find me down on the corner, out in the street. Willie and the poor boys playing. Bring nickel, tappy feet.
Hey. Just
Hey.
as a side on, that's gonna screw with YouTube pretty badly. Because the music copyright algorithm, even if you're just singing it, will flag it, which means we'll have ads.
Which means my singing has improved. First thing.
It has nothing to do with how good or bad of a singer you are, and I know this because I've gotten striked and I can't carry a tune.
Yeah. Second thing, if we get an ad on this video, just this one, if we get an ad on this video for this song, that song was called Down on the Corner by Creedence Clearwater Revival. It was written by John Fogerty. If we get a copyright, like if they put an ad on it just for this one video, I am actually glad for that now, because John Fogerty owns his copyrights.
Oh, nice.
He didn't for like 50 years. I don't know. From 60, he signed in 68 or 67, right in there. The whole band was a bunch of teenagers. So the guy, I can't remember his name. I even just looked it up, but I didn't care to remember. The guy that signed him kind of screwed them on their deal, and he retained like 98% of all of the money for everything they did, and that left the band, with like, the band didn't get shit out of any of the records they made. So they barely filled out their contract and bailed, and then quit making music for a long time. John Fogerty then went on to do like other stuff. He had a couple hits in the 80s, like solo. There's a song called Centerfield that you probably know. He ended up getting sued by his old manager for sounding too much like himself, and almost lost the copyrights for his new solo music. So anyways, fast forward to January of this year. The guy had died. Another company had bought all of this, like all of the stuff that the guy owned, like all the IP that the guy owned, intellectual property, and it didn't say like who contacted who, but they worked out a deal. John Fogerty bought all of his original copyrights. He owns all of his music back. And then the company is going to continue to do the distributing and everything. They're even paying back royalties on music because the guy screwed him over so bad. He won. John Fogerty won, finally. And this was one of the things that I've kept an eye on for a long time, just because it's interested me. Like, I like copyright. I love John Fogerty, super talented writer, amazing guitar player. Like, all around just seems like a cool dude. So it was really cool to see that happen. And I wanted to talk about it like the week I got sick, and then I forgot until this week, because I was on Reddit. I was on the Reddit and saw a post. It was like, check out this song and see if it blows your mind. And I'm pretty good about that. So I clicked on it and I was listening. And I'm like, yeah, this is a pretty chill, like 70s soul song. The song is called I Got by Labi Safri, like Saffri. It's pretty kind of chill, soul, bluesy song until the 2 minute mark, and then like the 2 minute 30 mark. And that's where it comes in with this drum beat and this like little organ tune, which became the sample for Eminem's My Name Is. And I realized that is the whole of his song, is just that sample from that section of that
it
song.
Was when I listened to it, because I waited until this morning to listen to it so that it was fresh in my mind, purposely. Mm-hmm. And when I listened to it, I was like, holy cow, I can't believe this is happening right now.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Wild. It's really cool to come across songs that other artists have sampled and finding those little gems and then realizing, wow, someone somewhere knows their music. If they're pulling samples from little things like this, that's kind of crazy. Like those are some deep dives.
Yeah. If you think that's crazy, you should see like the stuff that Fatboy Slim has done, because that gets even wilder. He'll pull like just a word out of a song and use that in a track. And
it's awesome.
Like, yeah. And there's a website I found. It's called Who Sampled, and you can like type in any track. Will show you like it'll show you either like what samples it has in it or like what songs were sampled from it. It's a pretty cool site.
That's awesome.
If you think that's crazy, you should listen to Atomic Dog by George Clinton. Is it George, or is it just Party Limit? I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's somewhere along. It's somewhere in the George Clinton universe, I think. Probably in the extended universe, the George Clinton extended universe. So, because there was
the GCEU.
Yeah, reading like how his bands work is insane. Because there was Parliament, there was Funkadelic, and I think there was like 2 other bands, and then they had like intermingling members, and then like Parliament and Funkadelic merged and became Parliament Funkadelic, and then somehow they got like the best of a bunch of other of like those bands and some other bands, and it became the P-Funk All-Stars, which was just short for Parliament Funkadelic All-Stars, which I think is what was the last touring entity. I'm not positive. I know it's a bit much for your brain to grasp sometimes.
Yeah. Well, speaking of music, I have a question for you. And this might be a little too much, but I don't know yet. You worked at a smoke shop, right?
Yeah.
Am I off base with this theory that there is a massive difference between potheads and weed culture?
What do you mean?
So we went to this last weekend. We went and saw Bad Fish, which is a Sublime cover band here in Fort Wayne, and there was a couple of opening acts. Like, we didn't stay for the whole thing because we were both exhausted anyway, and some other stuff. But the attitudes of people who are into weed culture for the sake of weed culture, you know, the ones that throw kush on everything, and those people, and just your average potheads that kind of like that kind of music, there's a massive canyon between those two groups. In attitudes, in the way that they act, the way that they talk, just like everything.
Yeah, there's some people where it's a lifestyle and that they live it, but then there's some people where like they enjoy it from the sidelines. You know, it's like same with sports. You got the people, you got the hardcore people that are like buying jerseys and the big fingers and stuff, and then there's like,
except I find the annoyance to be a little bit more toward the line of like, I enjoy throwing on an ICP album, but I'm not going to go hang out with juggalos.
See, that's one of my dreams, is to like go to the gathering of the juggalos.
See, it was mine until I did that, and it's not anymore.
Yeah, it's like a bucket list thing.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being that jammed into fandom, but when you have, and I'm not going to call out the band name because I don't want to do that or anything, but I'll put it this way. They were from Orlando, Florida, and this was the second opening act. They were from Orlando, Florida, and the band name was Kush something or other. And I was like, okay, this is not going to be great to begin with because I know where this is headed. So, because they put up the band name up on the big screen at Clyde, and I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And then they started playing the John Cena entry music, but not like the meme horn pull, but like the entire thing. And I went, oh no. And then they come bouncing out, and it's four of the whitest people you've ever seen. And the lead guy, he starts rapping offbeat in the worst fake Jamaican accent I've ever heard in my life. I was embarrassed. And I was just like, yeah, okay, this is the end that I can handle with weed culture for tonight. This is something else.
So that is,
and you know exactly the types of people that I'm talking about working at a smoke shop, because those people probably came in a lot.
Yeah. That is something that happens a lot in music across a wide variety of genres too, where people find this niche. The biggest two I usually think of off the top of my head are country music and Christian music, where you have people who specifically play to stereotypes.
Yep.
For the audience, and like specifically write stuff for those stereotypes. And honestly, country is the worst, like especially the new pop country.
Yeah.
Like
the two genres that I've gone mostly to go see in concerts have been like punk, pop punk, and metal. And you don't find that as often with those, because I honestly don't know why I don't see it as often with those two.
Dave, hate to break it to you.
Oh, I know it exists.
Pop punk is that.
Yes and no. When I say pop punk, I mean things like Sum 41, Blink 182, that style. I mean, I guess they called it pop punk because it wasn't the fucking Ramones, but
you're talking about punk that has been polished up so it's more palatable to the masses. That's what they did. Like, if you watch the progression of Green Day, like
No. I understand that from a musical technical point of view. I'm talking about the how do I put this? I'm just going to say it. The poser fandom point of view that goes to these things.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't a I have to be over exaggeratedly lifestyled into this style of music that you see with things like Sublime or Badfish with the whole weed culture, or ICP's Juggalos. There isn't that giant grouping that turns into a massive asshole. There are assholes and there are people that show up that way, but it doesn't invoke a massive, I mean, I guess you could say the alt goth crowd a little bit, but
yeah, I mean, there isn't a whole store in the mall dedicated to selling into that niche.
Yes, but they're not as, I don't know. I guess they're not as in your face at the concerts that I've been to lately.
I think that one of the big differences is that a lot of like pot smoking culture. By the way, I hate the word weed. I hate it. A weed is something you don't intend to grow.
Okay. So the devil's lettuce culture. All right.
Yeah, pot or cannabis, because
there is a difference though between pot culture and weed culture, though. I will say that right now. Yeah, I've noticed a difference.
Yeah. I think with a lot of the culture is it comes from like Jamaican communities in a lot of Caribbean area where it feels like appropriation, so it feels real awkward.
Yeah.
And it is real awkward.
Just watching someone with long dreads with a horribly bad Jamaican accent rapping off beat and watching people in the crowd that are dressed exactly the same losing their minds over it. It was a little much for me that day.
Yeah.
And maybe I was already tired and slightly annoyed to begin with, but
there's the point is they're selling tickets, they're selling records, which is what they want.
And we didn't stay for the whole concert, but I do know that, I didn't ask for a refund or anything stupid like that. I know that whatever little money that Badfish gets, because I do like Badfish. I mean, they're a very good Sublime cover band. There's a lot of stuff that they do that I like more than Sublime.
Can I tell you a quick funny story about Badfish? So I used to go to a concert every year for my birthday. And one of the years when we lived in Grand Rapids, Badfish was playing, I think, in Fort Wayne, like right around my birthday.
Yeah.
And a bunch of my buddies were like, "Hey, come down, let's go see Badfish." And I was like, "I've seen them a bunch. Like they're amazing." Like I had bought tickets to go see Sublime with Rome in Grand Rapids, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna go see an original band." Like, so I was getting all like, I was being like snobby, pretentious about. I'm gonna go see an original band. I don't know about you losers watching cover bands, like, which was funny because I play in cover bands, so it's it's just like me being funny, snobby. I wasn't like being real pretentious. I was just like, I'm gonna go see a real band, losers. You losers got to go see a cover band. You paid the same price to see a band when I'm seeing the original. And so we went and we watched Sublime live with Rome. And I might as well just put on the Greatest Hits album because that's about all it was. It wasn't, how Badfish has like the energy, they're jumping around, like they're jamming on songs. And it's a show. Sublime doesn't have that. They didn't have that. It was like, it felt pre-programmed, and it felt like it sounded like they had put the album on.
It's kind of amazing how many really good bands and popular bands out there started as cover bands of other bands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of that. I wish they would do more stuff as Scotty Don't, because their original stuff was amazing.
Yeah.
I would go see him as Scotty Don't anytime. But that's another thing. See, you went and saw him as Badfish because they're selling tickets as a Sublime cover band when they were playing shows as Scotty Don't. And I remember we went to a festival in Ohio once where they played one night as Scotty Don't and they played the next night as Badfish. And so like Friday night, the place was like, there was a crowd there, but then the next night it was packed, like shoulder to shoulder, tits to ass. You were packed in there. It was crazy. And that's the thing, is they could be touring on the original stuff, but they said, well, we're making more money doing Sublime songs.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it be.
Panic at the Disco started as a Blink-182 cover band. Sum 41 started as a NoFX cover band, which I didn't realize until recently.
Yeah, you want to talk about an amazing live performance. NoFX was amazing.
Sum 41 is an amazing live performance. I got to see them at the Clyde last year, 2 years ago. What was it, before the pandemic? No, it was last year. It was like the first one after the pandemic we went to, which was awesome.
I think I saw them in like 2000 or 2001. I don't remember. Forever ago.
Nickelback, before they changed their name to Nickelback, they were known as the Village Idiots, and they covered Led Zeppelin and Metallica.
What?
Yeah, Nickelback started as a cover band for Led Zeppelin and Metallica.
Hey, do you remember when Metallica made a big issue out of people downloading their songs?
Well, I think that was more the Napster, less of the cover. But the biggest surprise...
Well, no, they weren't having an issue with them. They were having an issue with the downloads.
Well, because they were getting paid.
Yeah. Do you know how they got people to stop downloading their music illegally? They stopped making good albums.
Oh, ouch. Their album they released out earlier this or late last year was actually halfway decent.
Was it? I didn't listen to it.
I would give it a listen.
Okay.
I'd give it a listen. But the other one that surprised me started off as a cover band and who they covered was Nirvana.
Yeah.
They were a band called the Sellouts, and they were a Creedence Clearwater Revival cover band.
Yeah. Bring it all the way back around to CCR.
Yep. I want to hear Kurt Cobain singing CCR songs. That's what I want to hear right now.
Dude,
I need to find them. That would be
amazing.
But yeah, no, there's like cover band stuff is really interesting and really kind of cool. I think the next couple months, we're doing a couple more groups. We're going to go see Static X. I can't remember who is opening for them because I was excited about the openers too.
But Wayne Static's dead, isn't he?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's somebody else. Yeah, he died in 2014. So who's Who's singing?
I don't know. I'm trying to look it up right now. I think that's this summer.
Hey, Dave, what's the difference between a bass player and a large pizza?
I don't know what.
A large pizza can feed a family.
After Static Overflow passed, the original lineup has made a comeback with the help of previously recorded static vocals issued Project January 2020. Okay. So who's leading them through at the Clyde at the end of March?
So XER0? He was the singer of the band Dope.
Okay. Oh, that's not terrible then. Not showing who is opening with Static X on their website. The other one we're going to go see in March, because that's at the end of March. The next one we're going to see is actually on the 5th. Flogging Molly is going to be in town.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to see Flogging Molly, and the opener acts is Anti-Flag and Skinny Lister.
Oh boy, dude, Anti-Flag is.
I know,
dude. You want to talk about real punk?
I was introduced. I was introduced to Anti-Flag by a really good friend of mine while I was in the Navy. We would sit down in his shop and just crank Anti-Flag, which got a whole bunch of people a little their knickers a little twisted up. But I was also the one that would stand out in the smoke pit reading the Communist Manifesto in full Navy uniform. So people learned very quickly to expect something different from me most of the time. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Anti-Flag and even Skinny Lister. I haven't heard much of Skinny Lister. I'm going to start listening to him a bit because that is on the 5th of March.
Okay.
But
send me a link. I want to listen. I want to hear it.
What, Skinny Lister, or you want to go to the show?
I don't know if I want to go to the show.
It might be sold out.
I'm feeling pretty old. Also, I crushed my hand yesterday.
What did you do?
I was splitting wood on the splitter, and I had a big log, and like Christy was running the machine, and I was holding the log and like turning it, and we were taking chunks off of it, and like it started to split. The wedge went into the wood, and then the machine was like, and it just said nope. So she backed it, backed the hydraulic pump out, and then it was like stuck on the wedge. So I normally you can just like smack the log. If it does that, you can smack the log and it'll pop right off with the wedge. Well, I did that. The log popped off with some crazy force and somehow caught my hand and shoved it into the hydraulic pump. And so my whole right hand is swollen from like the thumb all the way to probably my ring finger, like in just the palm area, and also down into my wrist some.
Yeah.
So I won't be able to like swing around too good.
Ow.
It hurts, but it's nothing's broke. It just smashed.
I found the list of the openers for Static X.
Okay.
Fear Factory.
Whoa.
Cultist Black. Dope. And Mushroom Head.
Dope. It's
okay.
Gonna
be the lead. He's got Dope and Static X there.
He's doing double duty.
Awesome. That's going to be fucking awesome.
When I said that, I was like, I wonder if they're going to do any dope songs, but I guess that solves that question.
Yeah, dope. But Fear Factory, Mushroom Head, and dope. Holy shit, that's going to be one hell of a night.
Yeah, that'd be a great show.
Yeah, that one's at the end of March. And then, like I said, I really like Flogging Molly. So that'll be nice.
Yeah. I don't have anything lined up this year.
But yeah, Flogging Molly, Anti-Flag, and Skinny Lister. So I'm March is gonna be a busy month for me. Jeez. Start school on March 20th. I've got all that other shit going on then, and it's just going to be absolutely crazily fun.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Go get you some certificates.
Yeah. So talking to the people for school and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I may not be able to get... We're kind of figuring it out, and we're kind of playing it by ear, because Ivy Tech and their whole film studies program that they have, all the film stuff, it's fairly new, so they're not offering all of the classes every semester. So I was talking with my academic advisor, and we're going to be plugging, because we figured out what classes that I have to take and which ones I want to take that are offered all the time. And so we're going to plug those in randomly as the other ones come up. So we're going to figure out when the other ones are being offered, when I can plug the other ones in so I can maintain my schedule. But it should be about a year. I think they said that May next year was when I'll get my cert. So
nice.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's not going to cost me anything because GI Bill. I pretty much have 2.5 years to use the rest of it before it goes away, because there's an expiration date on the GI Bill now.
On the behalf of the American people, Dave, you're welcome.
Thank you, Republicans. They're the ones that push that through because, and I quote, "These kind of handouts are stuff we just can't afford anymore." That's why it got moved from being a full degree to so many months to so many credit hours, and then an expiration date tag.
Yep. What I think they forgot to realize was that that was the incentive to join the military for a lot of people.
Well,
to be able to go to college.
Our wonderful congressman here, Jim Banks, may he go fuck himself. He was the one that came out and said that the student loan forgiveness program thing shouldn't happen because, quote, it would harm military retention.
Yeah.
Like, that's the quiet part you're not supposed to say, asshole. Yeah, yep. Yeah. I have very strong feelings about this. This is the reason why that the Navy no longer asks me to come talk to the people that are waiting to go to boot camp, the MEPS people over at the recruitment centers. Because I did that once, and I was brutally honest about what life in the fleet was like, and they kindly asked me to never return. I mean, to be fair, she was really nice about it, but she was not happy with me whatsoever.
Dave,
yes.
You're wonderful. You talked really nice. Get the fuck out and never come back. I can't
lie to these kids. I just can't do it. I have no problems if you want to join the military. Go to college and go in as an officer. One, you'll actually get paid. I mean, I was 7 years into the military a non-commissioned officer, and I was still making less than $60,000 a year in San Diego with a family.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's not. No. That's disgraceful. I mean, these kids that come in and they're making what, frickin' $19,000 a year to start? That's terrible. Sorry. I'm going to go off on a big military tangent. I don't want to do that.
Should we go back to copyright?
Copyright and the other thing I want to talk.
I have something else to bitch about.
Oh, go for it. Go for it. You do that, and then it kind of leads into what I want to bitch about pretty angrily.
Okay.
Well, not angrily, but funnily.
So John Fogerty won his copyrights back. Hooray for him. Have you kept up with anything that Taylor Swift has done with her copyrights? Because she had like a similar kind of issue.
No, I know that other bands have done stuff. I know that Weird Al left his record label and is self-producing all of his stuff now so that he can control the copyright stuff.
Yeah. Taylor Swift had a similar issue. I don't remember all the backstory, but she ended up not owning the master recordings for her albums. So I don't know if she had like kept the like writing copyrights or if she got those back in somehow, but she didn't get back like her performance copyrights on the albums. So she battled a little bit, tried to get them back. They got sold from one dude to another, and she didn't get the option to buy them, even though I think she had offered some huge amount of money to get them back. She said, well, screw you guys. I will re-record all of my albums that you own and re-release them. So she has re-recorded her old albums new and re-released them. So you have, like, if you go on like whatever your music source is and you look up Taylor Swift, you'll see two different versions of the albums. And one will be called like Red something label, and the other one will be called Taylor's version. And the one that's called Taylor's version is the one that she re-recorded and released on her own, so that now she gets money from the plays on her albums. So she bypassed that. A lot of people are like, that's the most punk thing I've ever seen. She re-recorded all her albums to screw these people over. But I'm also looking at it like, this is the most capitalistic bullshit I've ever seen. Is she didn't fight to get her stuff back. She decided to just re-record it, so now she can get 100% of the royalties of it. I have such a weird love-hate with Taylor Swift. I know she's like,
I think the love-hate that I have with Taylor Swift is mostly the fandom. It's not with Taylor herself or her music. It's the fans. Going back to the whole weed culture idea thing. I don't have a problem with the bands. I have that one band I had a massive problem with, but that was just because they were terrible. But it's the fandom, that rabid, horrible fandom that comes out through all of this.
Yeah. Swifties are crazy about it too. Like I think it was like last year when there was a big list of like who used their private jets the most, and Taylor Swift was in like the top 5. And Swifties are like, oh, but she's got travel a lot. Like there wasn't any like there was no issue with her using her private jet more than like any other person on the world, mostly because it was her.
So I don't have a problem with private jets if the people that use private jets offset the carbon emissions in a different way as well.
Yeah.
Bill Gates just recently talked about that because someone asked him, because he's got all the environmental initiative stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they asked him, how, you're so concerned with the environment, why do you fly on a private jet all the time? And hang on, let me look this up so I don't screw up how he said. Because he said that, they asked him about being, the carbon footprint and all that stuff for being on a private jet. And he talked about what he is doing outside of flying to help with the carbon offsetting. And so he takes in the projects that he works on and he donates to, and he kind of dumps millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars into, more than offset his usage, which I thought was a very interesting way of looking at it. And I kind of understand and get that way of looking at it and that reasoning, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I wonder if there was a look at what anybody else did with that.
I don't know, because that was one thing I've always thought about, is like the use of a private jet I get, because when time is money and everything else, it's sometimes faster, more efficient, and better to just fly direct by yourself than to jump a flight on an airliner.
Yeah.
Especially with time. I mean, when you can show up at an executive airport, roll up and get on your plane and go, versus having to spend multiple hours getting through security, getting tickets, all that stuff. I mean, I get it. And I kind of agree with it to a certain extent. I don't find it as hypocritical or jarring like a lot of people tend to. But that's also me in the way I think. So
I think it's just sometimes you see like the numbers and you're like, holy shit, why did you travel that much? Why did you need to do that?
But he's running. Yeah, I mean he's kind of a different use case, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I know that if I was a popular artist and I was doing, once or twice a week, I was doing some sort of a concert thing all over the United States, and I wouldn't want to have to go through freaking security and do airport stuff, especially her. Could you imagine her trying to fly coach?
Well, usually the tours like that use a bus, because they'll have like trucks with their and semis with their
so
gear
that stuff they will, and a lot of times artists will. But if you have to constantly go to either LA or New York for media blitzes and stuff like that, because of that's what she does with her popularity, that is I don't know.
I don't know, Dave. I think Taylor Swift is the female embodiment of capitalism.
Capitalism itself isn't bad. It's the crony capitalism and the exploitive capitalism that I don't like.
Exploitive, like re-recording your album and then telling your like multi-million fan base to listen to it heavily so that it then drops in the #1 slot with a bunch of top 10 singles from a song from an album that was actually 15 years old.
I'm not saying that she's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying there is exploitative capitalism in the United States that I highly disagree with.
Yeah. I'm saying it was slightly exploitative. It wasn't a solution that benefited anybody but herself. Fogerty kind of helped set a precedent of hopefully helping other musicians get their copyrights back, or hopefully teaching them, teaching younger musicians not to fall into that trap.
Yep.
Taylor Swift did the thing that benefited her only.
Yeah.
Which is what bugged me, was seeing two very similar situations and seeing them resolved in two completely different ways. Like I know Fogerty didn't even have that option because he didn't even have his like writing copyrights, but I don't know. It kind of irks me that she did all that and it didn't help anybody. Like she could have fought. Like she has the resources to make that fight and she didn't. And it would have set a better precedent for other musicians.
Yeah, I think anything to disrupt the cartel that is record labels is probably a good thing in the long run.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're doing it just to benefit yourself or you're doing it to benefit all of music, the ripple effects of someone like her being able to flip 2 middle fingers off at a record label, I think that will help in the long run.
Well, I don't know, because she did the same thing with Spotify. She went to Spotify, said, "Hey, I don't like making 0.3 of a penny for every play."
Yep.
And Spotify said, "Oh, okay, you're Taylor Swift. What do you want?" And she gave them a number, and they said, "Okay, we'll do that."
Well, but what it does show, though, is that if there's enough demand for your product, for your music, you can go in and negotiate.
Yeah, but how how is that helping anybody else though? Like
because I think part it sets a new precedent. That's why it helps other people out.
Yeah, but it sets a precedent of you need tens of millions of followers, or I don't even know how many followers she has. Like I don't know what the Swiftie base is.
Yeah.
It sets the precedent of if you don't have that echelon, you don't get shit. So like if I go and upload music to Spotify, I get 0.3 of a cent per play, know. And she worked out a deal where she might get 9 cents on a play, which is what used to be standard for radio. But it didn't. Comes back to like, it didn't help the other artists at all. It helped her, and I don't know. That kind of irks me from being a musician and being, I've done shows where like we've played shows with other bands, and everybody's super friendly, and everybody's like, "Hey man, you need a hand with that? Yeah, hey, you want? Hey, I'm gonna go up and get a drink." Like even with other bands, like bands that we played with and didn't know, it was always like every little thing. Like when you're gigging with other bands, you're immediately bros, and you're doing things, you're helping them out, and like you're like, "Hey man, hey, your amp's a little quiet. You want to turn that up?" And uh, music should be a culture like that, where it's you should be helping other musicians. You should be giving each other hands, like high fives, and
I think
making sure everybody's gotten each other's back.
There is a there's not a disconnect. I look at this. I look at this the same way I look at, say, really good content creation. Right. I would argue that YouTube and a lot of content creators on YouTube, the amount of stuff they put out. Let's even just take like even the big ones. Let's take Mr. Beast as example, right?
Yeah.
Dude gets millions and millions of clicks and views and money that comes in that he can't give away enough of it, all this stuff. So he has got this giant conglomerate. But in the way that people treat him and the way that people treat, say, MGM Studios, Netflix Studios, Universal Pictures, Paramount, they are releasing content, entertainment content, but there is a massive disconnect on how they are each treated. If that makes if you understand what I'm saying. And I think bands go through that same thing. There's two echelons of bands. There's the mega groups, and then there are bands that create music for the music. I maybe that's not the right way to put it, because I don't think that Taylor Swift just doesn't create music because she likes music. I think there's a disconnect over when you get so big, you suddenly get up into a different echelon of things. And I don't think there was much that she could have done to help everyone else out, because she's too big to do that now. I know that's a really.
I think she could have, and I don't know. I think she could have said, Spotify, you need to change how this works. Like you're making billions of dollars or whatever. I don't know like what their earnings are or anything, but they're making shit tons of money with how that. I look at like YouTube, and you mentioned like MGM and Universal, which I think is stupid, because I feel like those two, like the major studios, kind of look at each other as competition. Like if you look at how they battle at box offices, it's a competition for views and dollars that way. Whereas YouTube feels a little different, where like people might get competitive, but there's still more friendly competition to stuff. Like seeing PewDiePie have, what would he at 1 billion subscribers? I don't remember what's the mark.
I don't think he's at 1 billion yet. He's
whatever it is.
Still. Yeah.
Was it 1 million? I don't remember what the big echelon was that he got.
It was, I don't remember either.
Well, but anyways, like, he does like random gaming with other channels, and he like, so it's kind of promotional for the other channels. I always kind of respected that. If like he'd have Jacksepticeye on, and they would play some Minecraft together or play whatever together.
Yeah.
Jacksepticeye is phenomenal in his own right, but doesn't have anywhere near the viewership.
And even as big as PewDiePie is, when it comes to outside of, say, well, even within YouTube, he gets some opportunities for stuff, but he doesn't have the reach to be able to pull off some of the other stuff that other people are able to do from massive studios.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, he's the biggest creator out there. He's got 111 million subscribers.
Okay, so 100 million must have been
100 million was that big one a couple years ago when he hit 100 million.
Yeah.
And even as big as he is, he would not have the same pull that a massive studio would have.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of the disconnect with that. And I don't think even Spotify, while they will give Taylor Swift some things that they wouldn't necessarily give anyone else because of her size, they did the same thing with Joe Rogan with podcasting. He makes a shit ton more money than any other podcaster out there because he's got those kind of numbers. But I don't see the record labels kowtowing even to that to change the system. I don't know. It's not a good situation all the way around. Yeah. I don't know if she can change it. If she would, if she could, I don't know. I think she's too big to be worried about everybody else. Because I think she sees it as a competition. Once you get that big, it becomes a competition. PewDiePie and Mr. Beast are probably two of the biggest creators on YouTube that still include other people. None of the other groups that are up there, I mean, those two are the outliers, not the regular when you're talking about getting up to close to 100 million subscribers. Because the only other people that have done that are record labels for music videos, or there's that film thing that was up there that PewDiePie was racing against from India.
Yeah.
When they were having that race to 100 million. I mean, him and Mr. Beast are outliers, not the norm for that high of subscribers. Everyone else out there is in it for themselves. And while I think the world would be a better place with people like them, and I think it is a better place with people like them because it shows that you can foster community and help prop others up and still be massively popular, I think that expecting that to be the norm for massive popularity is still outside.
Well,
and I think that's highly unfortunate.
I think when you have a fan base that is supposedly looks up to you for inspiration and such, like she does, she could use some of her big dick swinging power and do some good with it.
I don't think utilizing it that way will affect her fan base at all. The people that it would help are not her fan base. It's all the people that she feels that she's in competition of that fan base over. I think she still sees it as a full I think she still sees it as a competition.
Yeah, she shouldn't. She's done collaborations. She should know it's not a competition. She did a whole album with the guitar player from Wilco. She had Lana Del Rey on her last album. Like, she's worked with a lot of musicians who.
Here's the question you need to ask yourself about that, though, is did she work with those people to work with them, or did they pay to be supporting on her album?
That's a good question.
Because if they paid for that opportunity to write a bar or a line, then they were paying for the clout to be connected to her. She wasn't the one trying to bring them up. They were trying to grab onto the coattails to prop themselves up. And there's a massive difference between those two.
Well, I'm just saying, if she has this collaborative nature to her of working with other musicians, it seems like she would still want to have some helping hand in making changes.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is kind of crazy when you get up that big is she may want to do all this, but the people that she has in place as handlers, do they allow it? You know, does she call all of her own shots, or has she put people in place that are now doing stuff?
That's a good question.
So I don't know.
I don't know. I think she's more looking out for herself.
I think she is looking out for herself. I think she is so big that she sees everyone else as competition.
Yeah, which is not how it should be.
No.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
What has 3 legs and an asshole?
3 legs and an ass. I don't know.
A drum stool.
Yeah. You want to talk about music, so you come up with all sorts of musical jokes, didn't you?
I got a bunch. You can't be in an industry for a couple of decades and not have a whole bunch of shitty jokes.
That's funny.
This is my 2 favorite, though. My favorite's the bass player and the pizza one, because I'm a bass player. It's extra hilarious for me.
I'm looking up this Taylor Swift and Lana Del Rey collab song that they put out.
Let's see if Lana Del Rey paid to be on Taylor Swift's album.
Well, they say collab. Lana Del Rey says fewer than 20 words in the song.
I didn't know. I didn't actually listen to it or read into it. I just saw something
Features
that
audibly
said,
pretty buried, only rising to sing a tiny chorus phrase, snow on the beach, it's coming down, and are we falling? As well as the words aha and Janet. So Del Rey and Swift both have the same producer. So guess who put that one together?
Yeah, their producer said, "Hey, we could make some extra bucks by getting Lana on this track."
Yup. I don't know. It's I can't see if there's anything, if there's any, what the payment situations were on that one, but I do see on here that the Lana Del Rey fans are freaking pissed.
We will never see that. We'll never see the numbers, dude.
I was hoping to even just get a little bit of the numbers to see if she paid to be on there, or, but it looks like that as a collab, it was less of a collab and more of a feature. So I don't know.
Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Why couldn't the pianist unlock his piano?
Why?
The keys are on the inside.
Oh, boy. What's better than roses on a piano? Tulips on an organ.
Right.
All right. I think we're about done.
Yep.
I'll save my other rant for next week because we've pushed a little long here.
Okay.
And it's gonna be a while of my rant. So we'll deal with that next week. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. We highly appreciate it.
Yep. Later.